Welcome to Larryb Threads YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make a ball dress for a 10-year-old. Okay, so I'm using this cord lace doll face fabric for my lining, and then 2 nets will be on the down part. We'll get to that as we go on in the video. So this is my basic bodice, which I already cut. I just took my shoulder measurement, which is 14 inches, and then I went down by, for my neck width I used 2.5 inches and 3 inches depth. So for the front and for the back I used 2.5 inches width and 1 inch depth. So I cut my neckline, I did my shoulder slope, and then from my shoulder slope I went by 6 inches, sorry, for my armhole, and then I connected it. So for my half length, the half length measurement is 13 inches, but because I'm going to sew it here to join the ball part to it, and then I'm going to join it on the shoulder also, I added 1 inch allowance, which is half for each, and made it 14 inches. Okay, so for the lining parts I made it like an off shoulder because I want a little bit of skin to be showing on the upper part. Okay, so I just went down by 5 inches. Okay, and then I just traced what I have here. So by the time I'm through with my sewing, I'll have something like this. Okay, so we can see there's just a little bit of skin showing on the upper part. So the same thing I did for the front, I also did for the back part of the dress. So this is the cord lace, the shoulder, there's a zipper allowance here, an inch zipper allowance. The neck width is 2.5 by 1 inch, and then I drew my armhole cuff, and then I did an off shoulder lining for it also. Okay, so I'll be cutting lining for the off shoulder part so that I can turn the rough edges together with each one. So the upper part is settled now. We are moving over to the down part. For the down part of the dress, I'm going to be making a flare for where I'll be attaching my net to. Okay, so for the flare, the full length of this gown is 50 inches and the half length is 13. So 50 minus 13 is going to give me 37 inches. Okay, and the waistline I'm working with, the waistline of the girl is 30 inches. So this 30 inches, I'm going to divide it by 3.142, and that gave me 9.5. So this 9.5 is what I'm going to measure to get my radius. I hope you understand it. The waistline is 30 inches divided by 3.142, because this is a half circle, it's not a full circle. Okay, it's opened here, so because of that I'm dividing by 3.142 instead of 6.28. so that gave me 9.5. so I measured the 9.5 round like this, and I made this into a curve. Okay, so now for the length of the dress, remember I said the full length is 50 inches and the half length is 13 inches. So this gave me 37 inches. Okay, you can actually cut this 37 inches in full for your doll face if you have enough, but by the time I removed my radius, what I have left is 33.5 inches, which I can still manage because a net is still coming on top of this. This is not the actual thing that I'll be showing outside. It's just like an underlay so that the net can form a flare. Okay, so this 33.5 inches is what my fabric can take, and that is what I'm using. If you have enough fabric, you can do as much as 37 inches so that your length, your doll face, your flare and your net will be on equal length. Okay, I hope you understand this. But there is a way I'm going to make this to be fuller, so you get this as we go on in the video. So I have 33.5 inches by 9.5 as the radius is. So I'm going to cut this off now so that we can move to our net and cut it also. Okay, so we move to the net part of the dress. So remember, we calculated our length for the down part to be 37 inches after we have removed our half length. Okay, we used around 33.5 for the doll face because it was not enough, and I explained that if you have enough material, you can make it equal length with your net. So now, because the net is the one on the outer part that will be shown, that is why I can still manage the length that I used. So for my net now, my actual length measurement is 37 inches, but because I'm going to be sewing it and you may want to probably weave it on the hemline, I'm adding 1 inch to it, so I'm going to make it 38. And that must be after you have arranged your net neatly like this. You have to fold it in a way that it is not rumpled so that it will give you accurate results. So I did that, and I made sure that the hemlines are on equal length, as we can see. And from that, I'm going to measure it up to my 38 inches. So I have 38 inches here with allowance. So this is 38 inches, and I made it into a straight line. So I'm going to cut this off now. So when I was cutting the flare, I mentioned that I'm going to try as much as possible to find a way to make my bodice fuller at the hemline because of my net because of the doll face that was not enough. So remember, the net is by 60. It's 60 inches in length. So after removing the 38 inches, I want to check what I have. So after removing my 38 inches, I have 20, and the net I used is 10 yards. I forgot to mention that. So I have around 25 inches left now. So to make my ball dress fuller, this is what I intend to do. This is my doll face. Okay, this is the actual net we are working with, and if you place it here, you can see that it is shorter by around 5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be pleating all of this to fit into this small space that I have here. But the plan I have for the 25 inches that I have is this. The 25 inches, if I subtract 25 inches from my actual 30, okay, as I was saying, remember the actual length is 38 inches, so I want to make it as simple as possible. Okay, so this is our 38 inches here. I hope you can see it. I turned the tape so that this side will be visible, so that when I'm explaining, you understand. And the down part of the net that we have is just 25 inches. This is 25. So I'm going to make a mark on my 25 inches like this. So now I can remove my tape. If I measure it, I have 13 inches from my radius to this place. So on this 13 inches, I'm going to open my flare. Okay, and then I'm going to measure the 13 inches round. I'm going to mark 13 inches round. 13 inches. I want to do this because my net is just 10 yards and I want it to be a bit fuller at the hemline. That is why I'm doing this. Okay, so I measured my 13 inches round, and I'm going to make it into a circle, into a curve like this. Okay, so now the 25 inches that I have, I'm going to pleat it starting from this 13 inches mark. Okay, I'll pleat it to fit into this everything. I'll pleat it like this round. So after pleating it, it is after then that I'm going to pleat my actual net. So the one under it must have formed like a form of gathers already, which this one will fall on. So by the time I'm through with all that, the ball dress will come out bigger than the 10 inches that I'm going to pleat, than what the 10 inches that I'm going to pleat up here is just going to give me. I just try to explain this so that by the time I'm doing it, we'll have a better understanding of what we are doing. So now I'm going to move to the sewing aspect of the ball dress. Okay, so I've cut lining to cover the off shoulder parts and I turned it against each other to be neat like this, and then I went ahead to iron it to press it down. Okay, so it has been turned. There is no rough edges, just the armhole part, which I'm still going to finish by either serging it or covering with the bias. So this is what we're going to have now. When we cover it on each other, so you can either stitch it in a way that it will not show, or just tack it with needle and thread just to hold it firmly with each other. So I'm going to take the front and back and then join it on the shoulder here. I'll join it on the shoulder both sides and then shape the sides so that it can be ready for the down part. So I'm going to go over to the machine now to do that. And for the hemline, like I said, I've the shorter part, the leftover, when I cut my 38 inches, I sew it to the down part just like I explained. I marked with a chalk. I hope you can still see my chalk marking, and then I went ahead to sew it, so it looks like this now by the time I sew it to the down part. So now the next thing I'll do is to take the actual length, that's the long part, the 38 inches. Just like I gathered this here, I'm going to gather the actual length also on the radius, actual radius that we have. So by the time I gather it, it will fall on the same length that this is. Okay, it will be the same length by the time I gather it, as you can see here. So I had to go down before gathering because this is shorter, and if I gather it here, to just stop around here. That's why I moved down before I started my gathering. So now I'll take it to the machine and do it, and the essence of this is just to give it more balls on the hemline. This already is coming out on its own, so by the time I place this on it, it will just help it to give it some kind of additional fullness. Okay, so I've gone ahead to join them on the shoulder, as you can see, and then I shaped the sides. Okay, so after shaping the side, I added a band, I think 2.5 inch band. So by the time I sew it, it will go back to 2 inches, the 2 inches band to the front part only. And then I added sleeves, basic sleeve, and I hemmed the neckline with a bias. Okay, so this is what the blouse is looking like. What we are left with is now the down part, which is the net, to make it a ball gown. So now we'll go over to the net. Like I said, I've gathered the long one to the upper part of the net. As you can see, it now came to the same length with the 25 inches that I gathered underneath it before, as we can see. So I hanged it on the mannequin so that we can see the fullness that just 10 yards of net gave us. You can see how full this is, and it's because of the additional 25 yards that we added around it. So now this is what we have. I just need to sew this upper part to the blouse that I already have, and then fix the zipper, and our ball dress is ready. Okay, so I've pleated the longest part. That's the 38 inches, the longest one on the radius. Okay, and you can see it's fuller because the radius is smaller, and this is the one with 25 inches underneath it. Okay, that I pleated underneath it. So you can see how full we were able to make this ball gown look like, even with just 10 yards of net. Okay, the effect that the one underneath will give it is that it just helps it to bounce out better. Okay, so I just brought it out so that we can see it very well. You can see how full and big it is looking. So if you have more net, you can use it, but if you have less net, just like me, this is a method you can use to make your ball gown fuller. So the 25 inches that we pleated down, it just helps it in bouncing out more. Okay, so now I'm going to be attaching this to the blouse that I already have ready, and then fix my zipper, and our ball dress is ready.